Good morning, Mr. Scarcelli. How are you doing today?
We're all good here in Michigan, Rob. We got Wolverines winning. We got Lions winning. We got the Tigers getting ready to go at it tonight out there in Seattle. So we got a lot of happy people over here in the Thumb State.
Well, in North Carolina, we have a lot of upset people with the seemingly endless controversy that surrounds Bill Belichick's short term at North Carolina. The news is loaded with what's the buyout look like. There's a toxic culture here. Players are complaining. I don't know how long he is destined to remain at North Carolina.
Yeah, because I love him as a head coach. I love listening to him talk always, and it's disappointing for me because he's been a winner. But you got to get it right. You got to get your quarterback right, and we talk about our buddy Jim Harbaugh, my old former teammate. The guy, all he's ever did is win at all them different levels. San Diego, and then
San Francisco,
and then the Stanford, and then the 49ers, and then Michigan, and now back as the San Diego Chargers. So anyway, to do it at all them different levels is they're all a little different, little tweaks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure this quarterback's the guy he would, if he had his preference, that he would be the number one choice for him to play. But
yeah, well, you got to get that quarterback right. Like we're going to look at the Michigan-Wisconsin film, and that Luke Fickell's a damn good coach. He built Cincinnati, took them to the playoffs. He's a good. He just doesn't have his quarterback right. He doesn't have a lot of skill players. Well, look at that film, and you got to get it all right, man.
Yeah, and I think there's the name, right? The cachet of Bill Belichick, he'll win right away. And, that's rarely true, right? In college football. I mean, it with the transfers and everything that happen, it takes a while to build that program. And I think anybody who expects a coach 5 or 6 games into the season to completely turn a program around, I think that's an unfair standard to hold someone to.
Yeah, I just think in college football now you can be a really you can get it right one year, and because you're bringing in 50, 60 dudes every year, and then get it wrong the next year. A smart guy can. I mean, I was a pretty decently successful coach, and I had one year I lost. My quarterback got in trouble off the field and just screwed my whole season.
Yep. Hey, another coach that is he on the hot seat or not? Sarkisian at Texas, big game for them coming up this week. If he loses to his rivals, they went from preseason, 1 or 2, depending on what poll, and now they're unranked.
They would be crazy, in my opinion, because he's a good coach. He's resurrected that program. He gave them life. He's had good teams. He's got a quarterback that has to get situated. He's recruiting good players. They would be flat out crazy to even consider that. He's got his off the field problems he had at other stops. Washington, he liked the booze a little bit, but I mean it's been reported. But I like him as a coach, and I think they'd be crazy to even consider it. Just let him get through this, and he's got Oklahoma. I don't know who's playing. If Mateer's playing, they're throwing curveballs out there. Maybe I don't know what the hell that means.
Yeah, exactly. It's one day it's yes, no, maybe. Yeah, so. And then, how much of Sarkisian's problem this year is tied to Archie Manning?
Well, you got spoiled with the kid. Ewers was a damn good quarterback, and that he might need a little more. Manning is going to be a good player. He's going to be. It just might take him a little longer than people thought. Maybe he needed more work. I mean, he did start games last year, and they did put him in the game often. I'd say that Sarkisian did the right things to develop a kid for the following year. You played him. He did play quite a bit last year, but I think it's way too soon to start throwing the towel in on Arch Manning. But yeah, he hasn't really done the things that you thought and people expected from an accuracy standpoint. It doesn't seem to be there as much as you would think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But and then the last coach I'll mention, he seems like he's on the hot seat every year, and that's Franklin up at Penn State.
Well, I'll tell you, man, Rob, I played long time, coached long time, and it was like the perfect the perfect setting to get cracked, to get upset. Here's James Franklin, good coach, good program, good players. They play a highly emotional game, top-ranked, top 5 team. Oregon comes in, national television, crazy sold-out crowd, emotional loss in overtime, terrible, tears, injuries, terrible what you're dealing with as a coach. And now you got to go travel 3,500 miles, and you got to play a team that hasn't won a game. And your players are, oh man, the long flight. Because I've been there as a player. I remember flying out to Washington and go. There's a little bit of a jet lag. Anyway, all those things are real. So you're going there. You play in an 0-4 team in front of about 10,000 people. The Rose Bowl is basically empty.
Yeah.
And okay. So now, but on the other side, so Penn State, that's where they were, and then UCLA. He's on the total opposite side now. You got an interim coach who was given an opportunity. This dude went out, Rob. He didn't do what normal interim coaches do. He fired 3 dudes from that staff. He said, you're gone. He hired a guy from another staff who was an analyst. He brought him in to run his defense, to work with his defense. So he made total wholesale changes. And then you watch that game, you're like, where the hell this team been? They played with emotion. The play calling was good. They got the onside kick. They did some things, and the quarterback played like the $4 million kid Tennessee won from Tennessee. Anyway, it's like that's the essence of leadership as a coach. Because I've been there as a player and coach in those type of locker rooms, and you had James Franklin who failed. And those are when it's tough to get a team up. And you had the other guy at UCLA who galvanized his team and made them gave them hope, blew up the staff, put some fear into some people, put some hope into people, and they win a football.
Ran an aggressive offense, right? In that game, it's like he's playing with house money.
Yeah, he ran his quarterback a ton. He didn't care. We're paying him all that. We got to win a game. So, you can't be afraid to run your, people are going to yell at you when he gets hurt, like the kid from Oklahoma who's hurt. You pay him all that money. He's such a big part of your offense. But it definitely makes it hard to defend offenses when you run your quarterback. But anyway, it was the essence of leadership, man. It was the poster child for, let's get tested on both ends of that deal.
Do you think he survives after the year, or is it time to move on? Or
Well, that's Penn State's decision, but it'd be really, really hard to get rid of him. And I know as a coach, there's a lot of guys that I would face every year. There's some guys that you wish they would finally retire, and there's some dudes that, like James Franklin, you want them just good enough to keep their job. That's how I felt about a lot of guys. I bet you there's a lot of people. I don't want to say a lot of people because everybody doesn't beat up on Penn State. Penn State beats a lot of people, but I would imagine deep down Ryan Day, and some of those guys are like, they're happy that James Franklin keeps his job because he's just good enough to keep his job, where the Penn State people can't rifle him.
Yeah, it's almost like the Cooper syndrome at Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
Excellent coach, except for one game a year, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So,
but anyway, we have some film to take a look at. Last week, Michigan was back in action against Wisconsin, and we'll break it down for us, Jim.
Okay, Rob, you looking at the film now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, Wisconsin took the opening drive right down on Michigan. Michigan made some mental mistakes here. They're out of position. They're running a stunt, and it's just not sound. They've got 2 guys outside here instead of it's not a sound stunt. This one of the players should have been in here, but they made some mental mistakes. And Wisconsin has offensive linemen. They've had them, and they always will have them. Wisconsin's problem is they don't have the kind of skill players that they need to really compete. Here's they're running the RPO. Everything's, and that's what Michigan and everybody's doing this, Rob. They all start with the mesh point. because it really puts defenses in conflict. You don't know if quarterback's going to keep it, quarterback's going to throw it, running back going to get it. This is RPO. That's what it is. Run, pass, option. There's so many things to just freeze the defense. But then they're knocking Michigan off the ball. But
yeah, you look, those linemen were 3 or 4 yards down up from the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, you're not beating anybody. Listen, Wisconsin's offensive line will compete with anybody. And, the old we played against Hayden Fry, who built Iowa. And Hayden Fry, his philosophy was, I'm going to get my heart and soul from Iowa, his big linemen. But we're going to get our arms and limbs from like New Jersey and other places, Ronnie Harmon, some of his speed, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's the same thing that Barry Alvarez did, who worked under Hayden Fry, did at Wisconsin then. He's like, we're going to get our speed and some of our athleticism. We might have to go outside of the state. But here's, Wisconsin just knocking Michigan around a little bit. So this first drive by Wisconsin was,
All right. When you mean the base, what are you showing here?
Well, Michigan is in, they run really two different packages. And this is actually the same terminology that Michigan does call it. And most people in the NFL and college, they call it this: 2 linebackers, linebacker, 3 down defensive linemen. This is the stuff we ran 40 years ago this is the exact same front we ran 40 years ago. This is a 3-4 defense, we called it. So 3 down linemen and then 2 outside backers. Now they're called edge players.
Yep.
Okay. So this is what they call base. And this is when Wisconsin has, they got a tight end. So what's the down and distance? 1st and 10. Michigan has base personnel. And with this personnel, this down and distance, and I'll show you nickel later, but, they'll drop him, drop him, drop both these guys, bring them back. They can do a lot of things from this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that's old school base 3-4, Oklahoma 3-4 people. That's what it is. And Michigan is dropping both
edge players,
and they're bringing both backers. You see how they're doing that, Rob?
Yep, right up the middle. Yep.
Yeah. Well, you're trying to put the defense in conflict with a combination of these 7 dudes. Who's rushing, who's dropping, and if you have an athlete here, an athlete here, athlete here, athlete here, you can rush or drop any of those 4 players. They could cover a curl. They could cover a flat. So that's kind of what what is this philosophy of that type
and out of that base, are you playing man to man, or is that
you can do anything? Well, that's just it. You can do anything. You don't want to tip your hand. The wing, the philosophy is you're always trying to disguise. You're trying to disguise all the time. That's the whole concept of football is, all warfare is based on deception. So these guys are trying to deceive the defense, and these guys are trying to deceive the offense. Who's coming? Who's dropping? Are they in man? I mean, at the last second, this guy could be a man player on this guy. It depends. So you're always trying to disguise. Now, Michigan is running a blitz here. They're bringing both linebackers, and they're dropping both of these edge players, but they leave this hole right here. And I think maybe one of the edge players should have dropped more inside there. But Wisconsin, you look what they're doing to this kid here at Michigan. They're just knocking him off the ball. He's a good player, but look what they're doing to him.
he was 6 yards backwards.
Yeah, I mean they have big, strong, tough dudes. I stood next to this kid right here. Okay, he's 300 pounds, 6'6" kid, highly recruited. But you stand up. I mean, a lot of that's technique. It isn't that he's not, not a tough kid or a good player. He's just standing up way too high. But Michigan doesn't read this well. But they're getting moving here. Look at they're moving dudes here. This guy's too far upfield. This is not. This player is moved for Michigan. This guy is too far upfield.
He takes himself out of the play.
Yeah, he's creating a seam here where this linebacker has, he's got to feel this gap. He's got to feel. You're making it hard on the linebacker. These two players are not helping the linebacker.
Yep,
is what's happening here. So you see that big hole there.
Yep.
Some people might want to blame the backer, but all three of them are not good enough. They end up ripping them in there. So that was the first drive. And Michigan never gave up another touchdown again, but they just physically pounded them, threw a couple passes, found some weaknesses in their defense.
I thought it was an impending disaster at that point, potentially.
Well, yeah, because it was good play calling. But, Michigan's new offensive coordinator, I've said this, Rob, I like that the guy is creative. He's got some balls. He's not going to be consistent. Very first play of the game, he runs a play because, people are thinking run. You like to run the ball first down sometimes. And this looks like a run. It's a flea flicker. He's giving the ball. You hand the ball off to the guy. So you actually hand it off to him.
Yep.
Okay, so the defense sees the ball. They see the ball in his hands. You understand? It's in his hands right now. So you get these linebackers sucking up, and then he's pitching it back. But Wisconsin kind of defends it, and the ball's just underthrown, and it's an interference. But anyway, I like that Michigan has a guy who is not afraid to throw the ball on first down, be creative, do some things. This is a well-blocked play. Wisconsin's tough on the goal line. Both sides of the ball, they're tough, short yardage. Luke Fickell has his team, able to play the physical game. But anyway, Michigan blocks what they're doing. This guy's crushing our tight end, but the guard manages to get out. And he's got to read what this defensive end is doing. He's coming underneath, so our guard has to log him, and he does. And now the fullback is reading what this guy's doing, and he's also coming underneath. So the running back has to read all of that. You follow me? So they're all of them are kind of reading what the defense is doing.
Well, it's interesting. It looks like Bredesen pushes the guard to kind of help him before he peels off and goes for his man.
Yeah, well, yeah, because he doesn't know for sure how that defensive player is going to play it. If the defensive end comes up field, the guard will kick him out, and Bredesen will lead through here. But he feels that the end is coming underneath. So now Bredesen has to work outside to try to get this guy. In fact, the way
Wisconsin's
playing it is exactly the way we played it when I was playing and how I tried to coach it. It's hard to do. But what we tried to do, what my coach wanted us to do, and it's hard to do, but he wanted us to punch inside shoulder of this guy to try to get penetration and blow this thing up with inside control so the ball can't hit inside. But he wanted this thing to bubble. You follow me?
Yep.
That's how a lot of coaches will coach that, so that this guy has to bubble. And now this guy comes in and makes it bubble. So hopefully then, somebody, whatever you're doing, there has to be a run support player out here. But you want to try to get this thing to bubble. And it's still kind of playing flat on the line of scrimmage. So, it wasn't easy, but Michigan, and I give credit to all three of the players there, the two guys blocking, the two guys and the back for reading it. So anyway, it's a good answer for Michigan. After Wisconsin takes it right down to score.
Yep.
This kid Pierce is playing probably the best inside defensive line for Michigan. This linebacker here, Rolder, has really done a good job. He's gotten his body stronger. I just like how I like when I see linebacker. Watch how he takes on this lineman, Rob. This is a 235-pound kid. This is a 320-pound kid. And watch how he takes on this guard here. You see that?
Yep.
He's playing at the line of scrimmage. That's hard to do. He's punching. He's holding his ground. And I like how 95 is playing double team here. He's playing now. Remember I showed you the kid number 17 got knocked off the ball back here, right?
Yep.
And this kid here is playing solid at the line of scrimmage. There's no movement there. So those two players, this is what you want from your defense. They're playing at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
So
big difference between the first drive and
just all, but it's technique. It was 95 had much better technique, but sometimes it happens, Rob. Good players sometimes will stand up too high, and that's the game of football. Same thing with offensive players. Sometimes they will play with good technique, and other times this guy's been out, Barry, and now he's back in the lineup. He was hurt. I just like the tackle there. You want to tackle good in space. That's one of the most important things for Michigan this week, is to really be good tackling in space. Remember I told you that here's now, okay, Rob, this is now the nickel package. See, it's 3rd and 5, and this is what NFL, college, they all refer to this as nickel. Well, basically what you've done is you now just have 2 inside defensive linemen. You got it. You took a third one out. You still have 2 edge guys. You got an edge guy here and an edge guy here. You have 2 linebackers in the game, but you bring another safety or corner, depending on what you want to do. But you have 5 defensive backs in the game and 2 linebackers. So you have a linebacker here and a linebacker here and 2 edge guys.
Yep.
Okay, so they call this nickel. Okay. So when you hear it and it's the same terminology for when you college and pro, they took out
5 deep.
5 defensive backs. Dime will be 6 defensive backs. Maybe take out a linebacker. So
and then this play, the line is playing on the other.
We're slanting to the left, and I don't like this edge player here for Michigan. He should be killing this play right here.
Yep.
And he's got his head down. He just runs right by him. The coordinator has the perfect defense called, and this kid does the hard part. He beats this big tackle, and the backer's coming around to contain, but the edge player has to have his head up. You're beating this guy clean, and I don't know how they're coaching it. If he's looking at the mesh point, I don't know what he's looking at, but he should have killed it. He should have smacked this running back right in the face.
I mean, it's one step away from him. Hard to believe.
So, but I don't know what he's looking at, and but he's got to make that. Well, that's the kid they moved from inside backer. Anyway, again, I like our linebacker. Michigan's linebackers do a good job blitzing. I think it's coached up pretty good. This is this Rolder kid again. He takes this running back and just that's what you want.
It's like the old Batman series. Pow.
Yeah. Look at that. And he just, he doesn't get the sack. He doesn't cause a turnover, but he forces a play, the ball to be thrown sooner than he wanted to. This is what's called a wham, Rob, is when you have an outside, like a tight end, a wing back. This is normal terminology that most coaches use for this block, okay? And it's hard for your defensive lineman to defend this and feel it, because he's coming from outside. He's coming from outside in, okay, and he's trapping a defensive lineman. See, most traps that when you hear the term trap for a defensive line, offensive line, it's normally a guard pulling and trapping from. So normally the traps are from the opposite,
inside out. Yeah,
inside out. You don't hardly ever see outside in. That's why this is really hard for a defensive lineman to play this. So, he sees no one's blocking him. I mean, look, imagine you're this player right here. Yep. Imagine you're this guy right here. Okay,
eyes on the ball.
He sees he's getting down. Nobody blocks him. So he's normally looking inside. Is someone coming from here? And then at the last second, okay, here's the trap from the outside. You follow me?
Yep.
So that's tough for him. It's blocked well, but the Michigan defense, the other guys are reading it, and they're doing a good job defending it. Let's see who did a good job here. Them linebackers are both.
Yeah, the linebackers again.
Well, they're reading. The linebackers are going to be reading. There's so much false pulling going on with in college football. So let's see. The linebackers are seeing. Here's what's helping. This is why this linebacker is able to feel this. See, he's feeling this guard. Both linebackers are going to feel these guards. So this guard is blocking down here. So that tells this kid that play is coming this way. If he sees this guard block down, that tells you the play is going to his left. You follow me?
Yep.
Even though, so that's why he's honoring that key. The down block saved them. A lot of times people will do false pulls, though. In fact, USC will do a ton of it against Michigan this week. You'll see a ton of false pulls. Wisconsin did a good. See, this is one thing that a lot of people Michigan's doing now. I think after the Oklahoma game, the Sherrone Moore and Chip Lindsey, the coordinator, they said, we're going to roll this kid out. I think that was a change in Michigan's offensive philosophy after the Oklahoma game. We are going to roll out Bryce Underwood. But guess what? Everybody sees it now. So if you play Michigan, you better work on it and you better honor it and you better prepare for it in practice. And this kid from Wisconsin does a good job here, defending this rollout play. He's taking on the tackle and now he beats him outside. He takes on the back, and he ties up two blockers. So he he does his job. He falls on his butt, but he keeps the ball inside the defense.
Yep.
And then
and that's just Underwood's athleticism that got that.
Michigan does a good job with the bubble screw. Bryce does a real good job with this stuff.
Now there were some comments that he didn't have touch on the ball on a couple of those short passes during the game. He was putting, zipping it in too hard. Did you find that to be true?
Well, that's he does throw it hard, but the downside of throwing it hard is it's hard to catch. Okay, the upside of throwing it hard is this kid gets it faster. The receiver gets the ball fast. It's less time for the defense to react, right? So bottom line is players have to learn, Matthew Stafford throws it hard, okay? You got to learn to catch it. But what Michigan did find in this football game is this number 4. This kid is the real deal. He's a highly recruited kid, and he is an athlete. And he makes some catches in this game that are outstanding. So I think Michigan really found a second receiver.
Marsh had a good game.
Yeah, he's a good player. Here's 1st and 10. I thought Michigan did a good job here playing at the line of scrimmage. I like number 9 here, punching. See, I get excited, Rob, over these 1-yard games. when you can keep Wisconsin, see how this number 9 is playing. See how this line of scrimmage, there's no movement. So that's a win for Michigan.
What a difference from the first drive.
Yeah, that's the difference from so you're playing at the line of scrimmage. That's a 1-yard gain. That's how you win. That's winning football. Out cuts. This is smart by Michigan's defensive coaches and Michigan players. Wisconsin will run different quarterbacks, and this kid is the running guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's 3rd and 4, and Wink is Michigan's defensive coordinator, but he's playing it accordingly. He's playing the defense based on the fact that this dude is the runner. He's not the thrower. Now, the guy could throw the ball. He could screw you.
Yep.
If you overcommit, and Wink is overcommitting to stopping the run. He's overcommitting to stopping this kid running the football. And that's exactly what Wisconsin does. They run the quarterback. But Wink is saying, all right, screw you, man. I'm going to, you bring the kid in the game. You don't let him throw it ever. I'm going to overcommit. And that's what Wink is doing here. He's basically in a real heavy run blitz there. He's got 6 guys coming.
Yeah, he's saying beat us with your second best option. which is
Yeah, I
that
mean, if
guy
you bring a
throwing
guy
it.
in, you bring a guy in, and that's what he does. Then again, obviously, he could throw you a curveball, but this is a good job by our quarterback, young quarterback, reading his options. There's the first read, he's covered. Second read, he doesn't. Second read may have been open, but he doesn't throw it to him. And then he just dumps it down to the third option, which, that's just good stuff that you want to see. That's that quarterback's fifth start in college football.
Yeah,
And
that's a lot of patience for a young
yeah,
quarterback.
and he's progressing. USC will be his sixth start. Michigan doesn't execute this. Rob, just like
there's no movement on that line of scrimmage, never changes.
Well, they're doing, they're slanting their front. They're slanting this way. So, Michigan, you have to read this thing. And if you look at Michigan's right, there's a lot of screw ups here. This guy, this receiver doesn't block out on his the guy over him. He doesn't stay connected to him. But Michigan's right tackle has to see how this player's slanting.
Yep. Leaves no one for him to block.
Well, the Michigan's right tackle has to feel that and seal him. Okay, you cannot let him get penetration and blow up this pulling guard. Yep. And that's what ends up happening. This player gets penetration. He blows up the guard. He jacks up the whole thing. And then I thought that Michigan's fullback should have read this thing and kicked this guy out. But nobody blocks him, and it's a good job by Wisconsin. They ran a stunt, they slanted, but Michigan has answers. They have answers for that, but they didn't execute it. They didn't block it. They didn't pick it up.
Michigan, what did you mean by that 5-it zone?
Intermediate. There's no real intermediate. It's 3rd and 2, and there's no real intermediate short stuff. And he probably could have hit him, but he ends up throwing it here, and we dropped the football. Michigan's dropped a lot of balls. They dropped a lot at, and what is it? 1st and 10. And this is good defense by these three players. Michigan got this kid Payne from Alabama. He was a backup there, wasn't playing a lot. Highly recruited kid from Belleville, Michigan, but he's taking this guard and just stuffing him. You see how he's playing on his side of the line of scrimmage, Rob? That's good defensive line play. And then
and he's got the guard upright.
Yeah, he's stuffing him back. I mean, here's the line of scrimmage, and he's playing here. This is what Coach Moeller always used to talk about. Let's try to play 1 yard on their side of the line of scrimmage. And then this edge player does a good job for Michigan, but the linebacker's stepping up. It's good. It's flat wall defense. This linebacker's stepping up, meeting. And this player is reading the mesh point. He's looking for reverses coming this way. This player right here.
Yep.
Before he can just run down and slam this back, he has to honor all of that. I can see him going through his progressions, and now he feels the ball has been handed off, and he makes the tackle. But all of that stuff, he's not going to be able to make that play if there's movement here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no movement here, so he can make that play. So that's a good team defense. Again, Michigan was doing some things. Wisconsin found some holes in the middle of that zone. And now Michigan is running a stunt similar to what Wisconsin ran on us just a minute ago. Michigan's going to slant from right to left. They're going to bring a safety blitz. Or is that a backer they brought up there? I can't tell what that is. Anyway, they don't block the edge player. He comes flat, and he kills the running back.
Yeah.
So this is a good play call.
And again, unlike that first drive, the line of scrimmage barely changes.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, because if you have movement here, like if they're moving out front back here, that's harder for this player to make this play. So yeah,
right. What do you think changed? Why in that first drive Was it a matter of just technique, or the way
Yeah,
they?
that's what, Rob, that's what happens sometimes. People that play football, you watch film all week of a player, of a team. You watch the film,
Yep.
and this kid does a good job here, and you have an idea how good the guy is. You're getting a feel for this. The first drive, the defense is at a disadvantage, in my opinion, in some ways, because you don't know the cadence. You got to get a feel for the quarterback's cadence. You know what I mean? Down, set, hit, whatever. You got to get a feel for the players you're lined up across, and how fast do they come off the ball? What kind of technique do they? Are they coming off low? Anyway, yep. I think Michigan, that first drive, they were standing up a little bit. They were maybe a little flat-footed, not getting a feel for the cadence, and some of that is a factor in adjusting. Anyway, this is a great play. Michigan defensive back coach does a great job teaching this stuff, because everybody runs bubble screen.
Yep.
Everybody runs this. They're going to throw it out. And this player here, I think the way they coach it is just find a way to juke this guy and try to turn it back into the defense. I mean, it's just beautiful what he does here. And of course, Joe Klatt doesn't even talk about him. He talks about the other dudes. He don't even realize that this is the guy that made the play right here. Watch him here. He reads run, jukes him, right shoulder, turn him inside. That's like beautiful. It's hard to make that tackle. It's really hard to make a tackle.
When you're at a full sprint in.
Yeah. You never ask a guy. I never got mad at a guy for missing a tackle because this guy's an athlete. He's got all this room to work with. So, but you can ask a guy to be a right shoulder tackle, right? And kick it back to his help.
Yep.
Kick it back to the help. You know what I mean? And that's what he does. He misses it to the inside. Now we got a chance. Here's the first down. Nothing. So that's good.
If he gets outside, that's a big gain.
Yeah, if he was to be an idiot, well, he did a lot of great things here. He read it fast.
He got past the blocker.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine if this guy was to hook him in.
Yep.
It's a whole different play. Now we got blockers here. It's a whole different deal. You know what I mean? If this guy keeps outside leverage on him. Now it could be, who knows how big a play it is. But that kid's name is Metcalf. He's a guy Michigan got in the transfer portal.
Yep.
So that's a good job with, nothing was easy against Wisconsin, man, moving these guys. Fickle does a good job coaching. We're moving them a little bit, but nothing easy, man.
Yep.
And again, first down, but nothing easy.
Barely, yeah. Why is Haynes not getting any kind of consideration for Heisman?
Well, who Michigan hasn't. They needed to win that Oklahoma game, I guess. And the media likes quarterbacks more. I don't know.
But even you hear a lot about Singleton and some of these other guys who aren't doing half of what he's doing.
Yeah, it's but Rob, we're in the media. We got to start talking about him more.
There you go.
Anyway, for Michigan to win this game against USC, they got to have a great game plan, and players got to make plays. But this is this freshman, and freshman to freshman, man. This number 4 for Michigan, this Marsh kid. This is just an athletic play. It's a little number 4. Ohio State has that number 4. Michigan has a number 4 too.
Yeah, this was a hell of a catch.
That's just athleticism, man. Is that coaching? That's going out recruiting a great player and go out and get it. And these are the kind of plays for Michigan to beat USC. So this is RPO zone play.
Yeah, and look at the line of scrimmage move.
Yeah, and this is the stuff that Underwood gives you, though, that, his ability to run, it slows down all this backside defense. They have to honor Bryce keeping the ball here. Follow me?
Yep.
So it's going to slow down some of your defense to where Michigan's running the football. But that's nice to get that extra yard after contact.
Yep.
Yeah, well, this is something I thought maybe the right route combination wasn't great. Yeah, so we end up settling for a field goal here.
Zavada looks like he cleared his head of those early misses in the season.
Yeah, this is good team defense by Michigan. These three players, and this is the essence of what you want to do up front. You'll see this player squeeze so that you got guys squeezing. Everybody has to squeeze so the safety makes a great play, and his name is called out. But you have good up front play by a couple players. This defensive lineman is playing okay in here.
Mm-hmm.
Tight at the line of scrimmage. This edge player is punching and squeezing this pulling backside guard or tight end, whatever the hell he was.
Yeah, so they got one place to go.
And now this linebacker is coming up, meeting and squeezing here. So you have a punch and squeeze by the edge. You got a punch and squeeze by the backer. So now this player's not on an island.
Right.
Rob, you remember the Nebraska film where the kid was on a huge island and Michigan scored a touchdown on their safety, made him miss. You remember that?
Yeah, Haynes ran off left side. Yeah.
This is a similar situation, only Michigan's other players are helping this kid out. They're not putting him on an island. Look how small that gap is there.
Yep.
It's small. It's tight. Okay, look at that. There's nothing there. So you got squeeze, and now he can come up and drill him in a short box and with very little space. So, Joe Klatt will call out this kid's name, which he did a great job, the safety, okay? Okay.
But he doesn't make that play if the other two guys don't squeeze that in like that.
That's right. Exactly right. He'll call out his name, but this is a total team defense,
Yep.
Which is that's how it works, man.
The way the way those two other players played, that running back had nowhere to go except right at him.
Yeah. So that's flat wall team defense. Wisconsin's doing the same things, man. They're Yeah, just secure the ball. This is the stuff you want from Michigan's quarterback, that he has to be great on. This is where things get dangerous for Michigan, is when he runs. You got to watch these strippers from the backside, man.
Yep.
Remember Illinois last year, Washington last year. We had so many quarterbacks get stripped.
Well, it's always a good idea to watch strippers on your backside, Jim.
That's right. That's a whole nother topic. But anyway, Bryce has got to be good at this. We want him stepping up, but he's got to secure the football.
Yes.
Yeah, this quarterback that played for Wisconsin, he hadn't played. He hadn't played all year.
Right.
So Michigan wasn't prepared for this kid, and he went in there and did some good things. This is the same stuff.
Another drop pass. That's like 3 so far.
Yeah, you got to look the ball in, man. He throws it hard, but the gloves these guys wear are like unbelievable, man. You got no excuse. They got it's just a nice grip. I don't know how much more you want to look at here, but
yeah, we'll just watch a couple more and then get to our picks.
Anyway, this is Michigan's putting this is the start of the second half now. Starting to figure some things out, moving some guys. Michigan does a good job with receivers blocking. Ron Bellamy. And again, this is the kid, man. Michigan found their third receiver. They've been going back and forth with some different guys. And this Marsh kid is the real deal. He had the tight end here. He had the receiver here. So whatever. Throw it to either one. It's catchable. I thought this
Yeah,
You
I
see
didn't
what-
understand this when he ran there either.
Well, he's the freshman, Rob. He hadn't played enough. It's still, you play in front of 100,000. There's still some getting used to that environment that goes into the process. This linebacker does a good job for Wisconsin. Again, you play Michigan, he's got to read the mesh point, but he reads that bubble and he reacts fast. You see that?
Yep.
You want to yell at Bryce Underwood for throwing the ball fast. I mean, you want him to throw a little looper here? You know what I mean?
It'd be pick six the other way.
Well, it wouldn't be so much pick six. It just gives these guys time to break.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It gives the whole defense time to react. If that ball's a floater, it's got to be a bullet. And it is. And so if you can't catch that, then you can't play. So I understand why he throws it hard. But some of the stuff over the middle, that stuff will come, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked how Michigan blocked this. They execute. It's kind of similar to that touchdown in terms of the blocking. Remember, Rob, where this player's blocking down. The backside guard is reading.
Guard pulls. It's just the same play the other direction.
Same deal. He's got to read, what is this guy doing? He's making the play bounce. So he hooks him. Bredesen gets a block. They call a hold on Bredesen. I thought it was a bullshit call. Here's Michigan empty. And Rob, we saw the Nebraska film, and everybody in the Big Ten that plays Michigan is not going to like seeing empty because he ran for that touchdown there. You remember?
Yep.
Yeah. So again, I just think it slows people down. It makes them simplify their defense. Maybe it forces them to play a little more zone, or maybe play with, that's easy, man. That's easy pickings right there.
Yep.
So anyway, I like empty. I do like Michigan in empty. Yeah.
So what do we have here?
Well, I don't know that I like, it's defended. I don't know if I like how they're doing. Nobody's dragging for an easy route.
Exactly.
It's third and goal. Yeah, you have, if you're going to, he doesn't have any shorter routes here, and Wisconsin just defends it perfectly. We're running 4 vertical. We're basically running 4 vertical, and he's got the perfect defense. We're trying to go here, but he's got answers for everything that we're doing. So.
Yeah, well, that was a smart decision to throw it where he threw it, so it couldn't get picked.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do a couple more play. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. This edge player does a good job reading this thing. He feels that he has a flat, but he sees the tackle loss contained, so he does a good job.
Know the enemy here.
Well, Rob, you talk about scouting. This kid had a rough night, 54 Sprague. He's a good player for Michigan, big tackle. And this kid from Wisconsin just gave him problems. And I think when you're looking at film and you got to know who you're going against, and he beats him inside here. I guess the point I'm making is, you got to study the player. And if he's a smaller, quicker guy, you might have to respect the inside move more. Now, it might hurt you on outside pass rush, but you've got to find an answer.
Yeah, he just blocked it air on that one.
Yeah, so that's not a good thing. And here's last play. Here's Michigan motioning to empty. This is good stuff. I like this. This is a tough play to defend. Lincoln Riley runs the same stuff. Playing USC will be a matchup of a lot of people, doing the same things. So, all right.
Well, what do you think of that game coming up? USC, Michigan. Michigan's underdog 2.5 points.
I think the line is perfect. I think it's a perfect line for the game.
Okay, yeah, stop your.
Well, I don't know what that is, but you figure it's 2.5, right? Okay, that's home field. That's normally what people give a home field, right? 2.5, 3 points.
Yep.
So if they were playing at a neutral site, That's probably how I would see the game. It's like you almost see a pick 'em. They both have athletic quarterbacks that are pretty accurate. They're very well coached. Michigan's defense is run by a guy that worked under Wink Martindale. So the defenses are the same in terms of philosophy. I think
Coliseum sold out for the first time in a long time. A lot of Michigan fans
will be there. You know, I've been to a game there during the regular season, and they don't have, you know, they come, people are there, but they don't have it's not like playing at Penn State or even Michigan State. When Michigan plays at Michigan State in a couple of weeks, that's a whole different crowd, man. That's loud and nasty. We go to SC, there's going to be a lot of Michigan people there.
And I know it's not one of our feature games, but what do you expect to see? What do you expect on the outcome?
You know, I think it's both teams are really good on offense. I think Lincoln Riley's strength is offense. When I first saw SC play early in the year, I was like, wow, this is a really improved football team, especially on defense. And then, you know, I see them against Illinois, and Illinois is a good team, but Illinois pushed them around a little bit. They moved them. Illinois' offensive coordinator had a great game. Yep. He really put USC's defense in conflict. So picking the game, it's tough. I think the line is good, but I think Michigan can move the ball. I think the one thing Michigan I think is better at is their defensive line. Yep. I think Michigan should move. If you look at Illinois, moved them. Illinois had success. They put 40 points on that defense, and that's something I think Michigan should be able to do. You know.
Yep. Michigan's just got to, they got to be able to score points, because I do think it's going to be a higher scoring game.
Yeah. So you got the Michigan's got the OG Wink going against his pupil. So I'm betting on the OG, and if Michigan secures the football, it's just like any game. But Lincoln Riley is hard to defend, Rob. He's hard. He's one of the creators of a lot of stuff people have been doing in college football. That's why he was, Stoops went and got him years ago and brought him to Oklahoma, because people knew about the guy.
Yep.
And then he hasn't always had the best talent to win when he was at Oklahoma and some of these places. He's outcoached people. So he's a headache to defend schematically.
Awesome. So our first game, Jim, UNT, it's sold out for the first time in the history of their program. Friday night game.
North Texas is sold out. No kidding.
North Tech for the first time in the history of their program, right? 5-0 this year, 1-0 in the conference. Hell of an offense for North Texas. You like North Texas minus the 1.5, right?
Yeah, I like both coaches are really good. They're both going to probably get big jobs in a couple of years. The guy at UCF has rebuilt them. He built Florida. He beat Florida. The guy at UCF is a good coach, good program. But so is North Texas. North Texas is Mean Joe Green went to North Texas. Anyway, I watched North Texas play a couple times. I saw them against Army. I've seen South Florida play. They both have good coaches. They both have good quarterbacks. They both did a good job in the portal. They've got quarterbacks that can run, but I think North Texas quarterback is a little better. And Rob, it's one of them games where I think the home field is going to be an issue. It's one of the things I really like. I think I just like North Texas, man. I like their coach. I like their quarterback. I like that they're home. It's a little spread there. Now, yeah, South Florida beat Florida with Florida's head in their ass. But that's my pick, man. I'm betting with the quarterback, the coach, the home team. And I saw him beat Army and beat Army good and defend them with tough kids. He's brought good players in North Texas.
Yeah, I ran this game a bunch of different models, and I think it's going to be 4 or 5 point North Texas State win. I think USF, if for this game to come out differently, Byron Brown, the quarterback from UCF, is going to have to make some big explosive plays and more than one to
Well, he is
to beat him.
a runner. The coach wants to
Yep.
run him. He's an average passer, so you just have to be, get geared up defensively for that quarterback run game. And the South Florida kid maybe will throw one to you, but I'm feeling North Texas because of momentum, enthusiasm, sold out. Crowd will be a factor. That's what I'm betting on.
Yeah, and they're a balanced team. I mean, they don't rely on one thing. So the next game we have Air Force UNLV.
I like going in and out of the academies, and there's reasons. And I just think that UNLV has not faced them. This coaching staff has not defended the Air Force stuff. I did a little history. Mullen's a good coach. Dan Mullen's been around. He's a good coach, but has he defended this stuff? When he was at Florida, did he defend it when he was at, Mississippi State? So
he has not. And look, UNLV, we hit on them earlier in the year, but they are a mistake-prone team too. They turnovers, they give up special teams plays. You can't do that against Air Force and hope it doesn't bite you in the ass, right?
Yeah. Now Air Force let us down last week. We had them. We thought it would be a low-scoring game, and their defense is not the best.
Right. A lot of young guys, inexperienced guys on that.
We know that. Okay. There's a couple of downsides of Air Force is their defense is not the best, and they just come off a real emotional, difficult loss with one of the other academies, that's their season when those guys play each other, Air Force, Army, Navy. So that's the downside of Air Force. But the upside is, will UNLV defend them? So I like Air Force with 7 points. It's going to be a high-scoring game. What is that number on the over/under? Probably like 60-something.
I can
probably
tell
high.
you.
But I like Air Force because I think UNLV has not seen it. I don't know if they can defend how well they're going to defend it. Air Force will give up points, but they looked good offensively last week against Navy, and they came out of there healthy. Both quarterbacks, they played 2 quarterbacks. They both come out healthy, but
the over/under's high. It's 64.5.
Yeah, it's for that reason because it's going to be a lot of points scored. But 7's, that's still a lot of points. That's a touchdown, man. And Air Force could win that football game. They could win that game. So
yeah, I think that I'm with you on that call with Air Force. The next game
that's my reason why I like Air Force.
Yep. Now, again, I don't know why I have the error on the top here. This is Navy Temple.
That's right. Navy Temple. And what is the line? The
10.5. Temple's getting 10.
Okay. Now I followed the coach. The coach at Temple is a real good coach. He was at Sam Houston. And he didn't always score a lot of points, but he was just recently left Sam, and they've been good, Rob. Sam Houston. I followed this coach who's now at Temple, and I looked at. He knows how to defend the Navy stuff.
Yep.
And he's
what's interesting. Temple played Massachusetts and Georgia Tech on the road. They played Howard, Oklahoma, and University of Texas San Antonio at home. Their rushing splits are ridiculously different at home versus on the road on defense. So they do much worse at home. So, or they do better at home. I'm sorry, they do better at home, which goes in favor, and that includes playing Oklahoma at home.
Yeah, that's always the guy's a real good defensive coach. I think it's Keechum or something.
Keeler, yeah.
He is a damn good defensive football coach, and he has defended these guys in the past. He has defended the academies in the past, and he knows what he's doing. So I'm banking on my reason for the bet is Navy also coming off a highly emotional game. They did win. Temple has a coach that knows how to defend that stuff, getting a lot of points. who's a damn good defensive coach. So I'm betting on, when you're dealing with the academies, it's, do you believe the guy knows how to defend them? It's not so much a talent thing. It's
Yep.
will he figure it out? And I think he will, because he has in the past.
And Temple doesn't make mistakes on offense. They don't turn the ball over, which is
that was
key.
always the downside of him. He doesn't score a lot of points. He didn't score many points at Sam Houston, but he played some damn good defense.
Yep. And then the next game we have is UCLA MSU. UCLA coming off that big win with Penn State. We like the over on this 54.5.
Yeah, I was reluctant because here in Michigan, there was some uncertainty about the weather. I don't like betting if it's going to rain or what's going on with that. And I don't like trying to predict that. But it looks like it's going to be good weather conditions. I don't think either of these teams play the best defense. I think they both have athletic quarterbacks, capable. The offensive coaches are good. UCLA came, you saw what they can do if they really.
They just got a lot harder to prepare for, right? With Nico.
Yeah, they got harder, but at the same time now, there's, Michigan State will get a little book on what, it's not like they're blowing up. It's not like UCLA just blew up their offensive philosophy. I kind of didn't like the Neuheisel, Rick, the kid, saying, well, I only had 2 days to put a game. Well, you ran your damn offense. Maybe you threw out a bunch of stuff that you didn't want to run, but everything they ran, they would have worked on it prior to that game for the last 2 months. You know what I mean? So he makes it sound like he just drew up some new plays that they never ran before, and that's not the case. He would have condensed and figured out what he wants to run and thrown out a bunch of stuff that he didn't like. So,
right now, how UCLA's on defense, UCLA's weakness, can they contain the run, and how good is Michigan State going to be running the ball against UCLA?
Well, that's what I think. I think they're both average on defense. I think they're both going to score points.
Yep.
So, because I'm banking on weather's going to be good. UCLA has proven they can move the football. They've proven they don't play great defense. And Michigan State has shown that they don't play great defense. The thing with Michigan State is the quarterback will turn it over. Let's just hope he turns it over on his end, not on the other end going in. That's the thing you worry about Michigan State. Let's turn the damn ball over when you're coming out of your 10-yard line.
Yeah, and this is one of those games. I know you like to talk about the live betting from time to time, and if UCLA scores first or scores early, that puts a lot more pressure on MSU to get that kind of, to me, sends it more to a track meet kind of game.
Yeah, you're right, because get them out of with playing slow and conservative, and but I like the over in that game. Weather conditions are going to be good.
Yep, absolutely. And then our last one, I'm not sure if you're on board with me yet on this one or not, but we got South Carolina at LSU. To me, LSU's defense, South Carolina's not scoring a lot of points to begin with. It's at home. LSU's defense is phenomenal. I know South Carolina's quarterback is playing in this game, so that's going to make a difference. But so far, their offense has been completely underwhelming this year. They're at or near the bottom in score in red zone efficiency. I mean, they're scoring on less than 75% of their trips. LSU's just been phenomenal on third down on defense. So I look for LSU with the 8.5 points. I don't know where you eventually ended up on this game, whether you're with
Rob,
me.
If I was pushed, I would agree with you. There's reasons to like LSU. The inconsistency. Listen, Beamer's done a good job there at South Carolina. He's got an athletic, tough quarterback. The kid might be banged up because he runs them so damn much. Maybe that's part of the reason they're not scoring as much, or people are getting familiar with what he's doing on offense. But Beamer's been good, but South Carolina has struggled, and LSU, I'm not totally sold on their quarterback, but what I like about LSU is they're home. And Kelly's got, you're right, he has a damn good defense.
And they dominate time of possession. South Carolina, another big thing to me, they're not a very disciplined team. They're one of the worst teams in terms of penalty yards. They're giving up about 70 yards in penalties a game. You can't do that at playing at LSU. They're just not with that defense. You
The
can't.
thing that I consider a lot when I make my picks, having been a former high school coach, I guess, and is what they did the year before. If it's the same coaches and the same quarterbacks, and that's something that I consider a lot. And it was a dogfight in South Carolina last year. Obviously there's some little tweaks and differences. I think it's a different quarterback for LSU, or maybe I'm not sure. But anyway, that was a close game in South Carolina. Those are things that would say, okay, maybe not so much LSU, but
your point there with that is the coaches kind of know each other, how to defend each other, right?
Where they just, they get a feel. Sometimes the matchup of two different coaches is more important than what's happened prior to those games. Is how are they going to defend each other? How do they attack each other? But looking at what South Carolina's done this year, they don't give you a lot of confidence that they're going to score a lot of points. And then LSU at home, the biggest huge thing in that deal is LSU on a Saturday night. That place is nuts.
Oh yeah. So I know, Jim, last week, we had our first rough week of the year. It brought our season total down to 12-8, which, compared to the other experts out there, we're still at or near the top, running at a great percentage. So, the game that hurt us last week was New Mexico, San Jose State. We had both the under and New Mexico there, and San Jose State just threw the game plan out the window almost after the first series, right?
Yeah, I've watched both those teams play this year, and you got the old Navy coach who wanted to run, and now he's over there at San Jose State. He's got a different offense, but he just scrapped and just said, "The hell with it. We're not going to try to run the football." And he has a good quarterback, and the game plan worked for him. New Mexico couldn't stop him, and New Mexico's good, but they just couldn't stop him, and it was discouraging because I thought they'd get off the field with him throwing the damn ball so much, but they scored the first drive down, and San Jose scored the first drive, and they just never really had success stopping them, New Mexico. So
So of our games this week, North Texas favorite, giving up 1.5. We have Air Force getting 7 against UNLV. We have Temple getting 10.5 versus Navy. We've got the over with UCLA, Michigan State, and LSU giving 8.5 to the Gamecocks. Which of those do you feel, if you had to pick one and say that's the one I think is the best? What do you look at?
Wow. I'm going to stick with that one tonight, man. I'm going to stay North Texas. I just think they've got unbelievable enthusiasm there. They've got good players. They got everything, man. They got excitement, momentum. I'm going to go with the game tonight.
Yep. I'm going to go with that. And my 1A would be the UCLA Michigan State over. So, Jim, always appreciate your insight, the invaluable things you teach us on the film, what to look for. And I know you kind of gave a roundabout answer. It was a little bit non-committal, so I'm going to circle back and nail you down on the Michigan USC. I know we're not calling it. It's not one of our feature picks, but talk to me, brother.
Well, I think that everybody on that field tomorrow there's really good. You can make the argument, all players are good, coaches are good, but there's one position group that I think USC is very average, and that's their inside defensive tackles. Can you hear me? Anyway.
All right, everybody, look forward to it. And we will see you next week with Pick 6. Have a great